I have been told by a source that's reliable, a source that's involved in the intelligence community, that there is extensive city underground in the Las Vegas, Nevada area. I've also been told by reliable sources that there is a piece of equipment that will go through hard rock at the rate of, I think, 10 miles an hour. I'm not sure about how many miles an hour it'll go. And it'll spit this rock out, and you can drive a car or a train through it. I don't think there's any question about the underground subterranean efforts of this country. Going back to NAT and GAFTA, this is sent to me by an attorney, and the position statement: the so-called free trade under NAFTA and GATT is neither free nor fair. Free trade is newspeak for the subversive policy that was designed to destroy the American economy. It was hatched up by Harry Dexter White versus Frank Coe and Harold Glasser, mainlined by Senator George W. Malone on page 76. The Senate Finance Committee heard testimony on GATT that 32 nations favored tariff goods on goods which they exported to the United States. Every one of these nations had recently increased its tariffs on American goods. Now, one of them imposed the tariffs for the only admissible business reason there is, namely, to equalize the wage standards of living between two countries engaged in trade. That's mainline page 77. If a $10,000 American automobile is sold on the American market, $4,000 of that price is made up of taxes paid to support the government in the United States where that market is made possible. A Japanese car makes no such contribution to the American infrastructure. President Nixon explained it clearly. If we buy steel rail from England, they have the money and we have the rail. If we buy steel rail from ourselves, we have both the money and the rail. Allowing products that do not pay American taxes or American wages to plunder American markets destroys American jobs. American dollars are taken out of the American economy where the money creates more American products with American jobs. It is not building walls to protect the American economy from an anti-American policy that tears down American productivity and prosperity. That, ladies and gentlemen, I think fairly well documents the goals and aims of the New World Order. And then I would like to go on and describe some other activity that's taking place in this country. And by the way, before I forget, I need to tell you about a march, that's taking place right after the Republican convention out of San Diego. It's going to take place from, they're going to march from San Diego to Washington, D.C. And it's being sponsored by an organization known as CALL, down at the bottom. Let's see if this works down here. Here, CALL. And CALL is Citizens Against Legal Loopholes. You might be interested in contacting these people for a Liberty Weekend. They plan to have the rally in D.C., and the number there at the bottom is 619-755-9319. And the purpose of the rally and the march to Washington, D.C. is to attract attention and to alert people to the problems that we're having in this country today, and particularly as in regards to the Constitution of the United States. Now, continuing with the New World Order, I'd like to point out that in this newspaper article, August 27th, 1994, at the bottom, in Oklahoma City, this article asks for applicants for a new federal transfer center in Oklahoma City. And it was estimated that thousands of Oklahomans would apply for this job. The prison transfer center is designed to hold 1,400 inmates for a maximum of 10 days each. Officials anticipate the transfer center will remain in full capacity continuously. Why would we need a federal transfer center all of a sudden at full capacity, 1,400 every 10 days? That's over 50,000 transfers a year. I think something like 55,000. I talked to an ex-con recently, federal prisoner. He was in the federal prison at one time, not anymore. He told me that the federal prisoners are being used and being paid $5.50 a day to work at the abandoned military bases, and they are constructing concentration camps there. This is directly from the horse's mouth. Before George Bush left office, he signed a treaty with the United Nations. This is a document from the Army that I obtained through one of my sources. And it's called Bridge to America, Partnership States. And this treaty, which was not presented to Congress, and so therefore after 90 days it was not ratified by Congress. After 90 days it becomes law. This treaty designated foreign troops to serve in various capacities in each state in our country, the United States. For example, in Texas, it would be Czechoslovakian troops. And while the Czechoslovakian troops are occupying Texas, American troops will be occupying some countries overseas, certain countries overseas. California will be Ukrainian troops. Illinois, Polish troops. I don't see Kansas on there, and I don't see Missouri. I see Alabama and Illinois. Poland. Illinois will be Polish troops. So, I don't know of those of you who are aware of this, but not too long ago it was proposed, the proposal for House Rule 666. They're pretty arrogant, aren't they? Was designed to allow police officers more leeway in searching suspects and properties according to a summary prepared by a House subcommittee. H.R. 666 would legislatively expand the good faith exceptions to situations where law enforcement officials gather evidence without a warrant. In other words, if a police officer believes he or she has a good reason to search you or your property, he can. Conservatives have long argued correctly that too many criminals exploit technicalities to beat the rap. On the other hand, critics have pointed out correctly that the Fourth Amendment protects all Americans, including criminals, from illegal, unconstitutional search and seizure. What an officer feels is irrelevant where the Constitution has been violated. A legislative advocate of the Civil Liberties Union, I don't know how you pronounce that, TAFA, I guess, the Civil Liberties Union, National Capital Area, told the Spotlight, this is just a new excuse to violate the Constitution. All of this hullabaloo is that law enforcement officers want separate rights, she added. Who will police the police? Apparently, some congressmen wanted to know the exact same thing. For example, Democratic amendments to the bill excluded agents of the Internal Revenue Service and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms from rule. Representative Jim Traficant, Democrat Ohio, introduced the IRS exclusion, and Representative Harold Volkmer, a Democrat Missouri, insisted the BATF abide by the Fourth Amendment. They are the biggest abusers of the rights of the gun owners and private citizens, Volkmer said. They're like a Rambo operation, and people here are realizing that. Representative Joseph Serrano, Democrat in New York, introduced an amendment to have the Immigration Naturalization Service excluded. It was defeated 330 to 103. The real danger of House Rule 666 lies in the attitude of Republicans, where when Representative Melvin Watt, Democrat in North Carolina, proposed replacing language in the bill with language very similar to the Fourth Amendment, the House voted 303 to 121 against his amendment. Representative Bill McCollum, Republican Florida, the bill's sponsor, said the language would gut the bill. Several Republicans agreed with him on the record. What the Democrats weren't telling anyone is the Democratic-controlled houses of the 101st and 102nd Congress passed bills aimed at doing the same thing, possibly penning citizens to unconstitutional warrantless searches, according to the subcommittee report. This bill, I understand, is not passed. It was proposed. I don't know how many of you are aware of a survey. This was, again, by Spotlight. By the way, I don't know if any of you take the Spotlight, but it's a very good alternative source, also Media Bypass. There's a publication, Contact, in Las Vegas that has some good information. And, but you... Oh, it did pass, okay. 666 did pass. The Spotlight has obtained a copy of the survey given to members of the U.S. Marine Corps asking, among other things, the willingness to serve in various capacities under the command of the United Nations. The most frightening of all, however, was a question asking if they had any reservations upon the citizens who refused to turn over their personal firearms as part of a gun confiscation program. The survey was given to Marines on May 10th at the 29 Palms Marine Corps base located on the southeast corner of the Mojave Desert, about 70 miles due south of San Bernardino, California, just east of Los Angeles. Among other things, the Marine facility is the site of the Corps' I can't read that, commanded by Brigadier General Sutton, an expeditionary air force which is used as a test and training center for the Marines of the 1st Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Combat Company, which utilizes unmanned aerial drones intended for long-range reconnaissance purposes. According to a young Marine who provided a copy of the survey to the Spotlight, it was given by a naval commander who claims he was working on his master's degree and was writing his thesis about giving up our military sovereignty to the United Nations Secretary General. Those taking the survey were limited to veterans of Operation Just Cause, the U.S. invasion of Panama, Operation Desert Storm, the war against Iraq, or Operation Restore Hope, the supposed humanitarian mission to feed starving Somalians. While the surveys were being passed out to the young Marines, one was able to obtain 2 copies from the pile of questionnaires. Under the heading Combat Arms Survey, the questionnaire stated that questions is to gather data concerning the attitude of combat trained personnel with regards to non-traditional missions. All of your responses are confidential. Write your answers directly in the questionnaire form. In Part 2, place an X in the space provided for your response. The series of situations posed to the servicemen is as follows. The U.S. runs a field training exercise. UN combat troops should be allowed to serve in U.S. combat units during these exercises under U.S. command and control. The United Nations runs a field training exercise. U.S. combat troops under U.S. command and control should serve in UN combat unit during these exercises. The UN runs a field training exercise. U.S. combat troops should serve under UN command and control during these exercises. U.S. combat troops should participate in UN missions under United Nations command and control. U.S. combat troops should be commanded by UN officers and non-commissioned officers at battalion and company levels while performing UN missions, and it goes on and on. I feel the President of the United States has the authority to pass his responsibilities as Commander-in-Chief to the Secretary General. I feel there is conflict, and it goes on. But to make a long story short, one of the questions, as you can see, was I would fire upon U.S. citizens who refuse to resist confiscation of firearms banned by the U.S. government. The results of the survey were not available right there, but the ultimate result was 75% of the Marines said that they would not fire on a fellow citizen. And unfortunately, 25% said that they would fire on a fellow citizen. I wanted to get into some other case files and some specifics for the next 2 hours, and so I basically that's basically the situation as of this first 2 hours. Thanks.